Hi everyone, it's Lisa. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be working with some Halloween sets from Pink and Maine. I'll be making 3 cards as well as some pillow boxes using some of Pink and Maine's stamps. So this first set is called Hello Bootiful, and it has all these cute little ghosts and some sentiments that say your spooktacular, ghostly greetings, hello, beautiful, and happy haunting. And I just love that stamp at the bottom with the 3 ghosts with the word boo inside. And it also has some matching dies. The next set is called Batty for You, and it has all of these fun bats. There's one on a branch, there's one with a pumpkin, a couple with a pumpkin, and then there is the word Batty, and then there are also some little candy pieces and stars. And the sentiments are let's hang out soon, let's go, happy Halloween. You can also say Batty for you, Batty for candy, or Batty for Halloween. This next set is a fall set, and it is called Harvest Greetings. It has this cute little scarecrow. There's a sunflower, a fence, some pumpkins, some corn. There's also some sentiments, harvest greetings, autumn blessings, happy fall y'all, and hello friend. I'm not going to work with this set today, but I will be saving this set and making a card with it at a later time. And this set is called Oh Nuts, and it has this tree and all of these cute little squirrels and some sentiments that say for you on your special day, it's your birthday, go nuts. Oh nuts, I'd go out on a limb for you, so grateful for you, and nothing compares to you. You can use this set for fall, for just general birthday. You can also use this, which I'm going to use this tree to make a spooky tree for a Halloween scene today. So I'm going to use it for Halloween today, but I'll also be making another card for the fall coming up at the same time that I use the Harvest Greeting stamp set. There's also a new die that Pink and Maine recently released, and these are nesting dies. These are called Zigzag Circles, and they have this fun little triangle repeating pattern around the edge of them, which would be really great for card layers. I was also thinking that you can possibly use those dies to create a sun from a piece of cardstock and add that to a card. So these are all the stamps that I have, and I'm going to be working with several of the sets today to make some Halloween cards. So I am going to start off by showing the coloring of some of my images. If you don't want to see the coloring, you can fast forward to timestamp 12 minutes and 8 seconds. So for the ghost, I am putting some of my C4 marker along the edge just to create a shadow. And then I just come in with my C2 marker right over top of the C4 and extend it out towards the center. And then I'll come in with my C0, do the same thing over top of the C2, and then I'll come in with my C000 and extend out a little bit further. And then finally, I'll just come in with my blender and I'll just blend those colors right into the white area of the middle of that ghost. I don't go all the way into the middle with any of the grays. I still want to keep it white in the middle because ghosts are supposed to be white. I just wanted to add some of the gray along the edges just to create a shadow so that the ghost doesn't look so flat. I used the R20 on the cheeks of all of the ghosts, so just one color there. And then I come in with the same gray colors and color the inside of the letters of the word boo because I did forget that, and it does need to have a little bit of a shadow there so it has some distinction because that is their belly showing on the inside of those letters. So it does need to have a little bit of gray. So here I'm going to come in with some of the oranges for the pumpkin. I do start off with the YR09 as my darkest orange, and I just outlined that pumpkin with the YR09, and then I'm going to come in with the YR07 and just going to color just right around the edge again, just a little bit over top of the YR09 and then just extending out towards the center of that pumpkin. And then I'm going to come in with my lightest orange, which is my YR04, and then I'll just go over a little bit of the edge of the YR07 and then just extend all the way out towards the middle and finish coloring up the rest of this pumpkin. So just 3 colors there, and once I finish that, I'm just going to come back in with those same colors and just make it a little bit darker, just going over those same colors again, just to add some more distinct color and some more contrast. So once I finish coloring up the pumpkin, I'm going to come in with this black marker. This is the Memento dual marker in Tuxedo black. Do you know how sometimes when you stamp an image down and it has these solid black parts of the stamped image and they don't turn out as completely dark as you want them to turn out? Well, this pen is the same color pen as the ink pad that I use, which is the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I'm just colored up those black parts of that image just to make it a little bit darker. And I just love that about this pen because you can darken up the eyes that way, the mouth, so on and so forth. So for the greens, I'm using G46 and YG17 to color the leaves as well as the stem. And then this small pumpkin, again, it's the same color with the greens and the oranges that I previously colored. Now I do want to mention, I did mention about the ink that I use, which was the Memento Tuxedo Black ink that I use when I use my Copic markers. But also the paper is important. You don't want to just color onto regular old white cardstock. You want to make sure that you're using a cardstock that is good for blending with alcohol markers. So the paper that I use and that I love is the Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth cardstock. I just find that the alcohol marker coloring blends really well with that paper. So moving on, I'm coloring the word boo. I am going to be using the oranges as well as the purples. So for the orange, I'm just using two colors, the YR09 on the very top of the line, and then on the bottom of the line, I'm doing the YR04, and I'm going every other line is going to be orange, and then I'm going to come in with my purple and do every other line purple. So for the purple colors, I'm using V17 as my dark, so doing that at the top, and then underneath that is the V15, and I'm doing that for each one of those lines, and I'll do that for all of the letters. So the same purples are going to be used for the hat, this witch's hat. So again, V17 and V15. So I'm going to color this little belt portion of the witch's hat with the purple, and then I'm going to come in on the top of the witch's hat and color that black. But for the black, I am going to be using my grays. C8 is my darkest gray, and I'm following that with C6, C4, and C3 until I have the entire hat colored. So moving on, for the bat, I am going to show you the coloring of one bat. And I have this line on the ears. I did start out with my C5 marker and put a little bit of dark gray there. And then I'm coming in with my purples. So I have the V17 followed by the V15 and also the V12 as my lightest color. So the dark colors are going to be on the line in the ears and then just slowly extend out to the left on the left ear and then slowly extend out to the right on the right ear. And I'm going to use those colors for the entire bat. So the entire skin there on the bat is going to be those same colors. So for the face, I'm going to start with the V17 just around the top portion of the circular part and then under the eyes and around the eyes. Then I'm going to come in with my V15 and just go over the V17 and extend slightly towards the white area. And then I'll fill that in with the V12. Now you can color these bats any color you want. I chose to color all of mine purple. If you wanted to color them with the C markers and have them more of a gray, you totally can do that. You can color them orange, whatever color that fits your Halloween scene, you can color them. I've even seen pink bats. So for the eyes, I did use my YG17 and colored the portion of the eye there. And now I'm just coming in with some of my purples again to color in the wings. And then the pumpkin is going to be the same colors that I colored the pumpkin in the previous stamp set. So I'll color the rest of those bats off camera, but I just wanted to quickly show you that I am coloring this branch in some dark grays, which are very similar colors to what I'm going to color the tree, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment. So here's the word Batty. I am going to be doing a gradient, so the top part of those letters is going to be in my dark C8. I am going to come in with another color, which will be my C6, and then I'm just going to extend further down, and I'm going to do that for each one of those letters. Next, I'm going to come in with my C4 and extend that further down. Do that with each one of those letters as well. And then I'm going to come in with my C2 marker and just extend all the way down to fill in the rest of the white area. I also come in on towards the top where the blending wasn't so great, and I try to blend it with my C2 marker. But then I go ahead and take out my C3 marker and just fix the blending between those two colors. I was trying initially to go every other color, like go from C8 to C6 to C4 to C2, but I noticed there was too much of a noticeable gap between the colors, so I just came back in with all of the odd markers to fix that gap to make it a better blend. So I will have all of the colors that I use down in the description box as well as on my blog. So if you're interested in any of the colors that I've used for any of the stamps, be sure to go check that out. Okay, so here's the tree that I stamped out. I'm going to be making this a spooky tree, so it's going to be a dark gray. I initially go over all of the lines of that tree with my C8 marker. And then I'll come in with my C7 and go over the lines again, but extend more into the white area. I'll also use C6, C5, 4, 3, and 2. So I'm just, again, going over the lines and then extending more into the white area until the whole thing is covered. Eventually cover it all with my lightest marker, which is my C2. So this tree can be used in Halloween cards to make a spooky scene, which is what I'm going to do today. But you can also use this tree in any type of cards if you wanted to use it in your fall cards and obviously make it more of a brown. You can possibly even use this in winter cards, so it does have a lot of versatility, and I love how tall this tree is. It actually is so tall that it will take up the entire front of an A2 size card base. But it would also look great on a slimline or a mini slimline card. So for my first card, I have a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock that I've cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to create an inked background using carved pumpkin distress oxide ink. And then I'm going to lead into the fossilized amber. And I'm going to put those two colors on my background. I don't need to come all the way to the bottom because I'm going to have some grass that's going to cover up that bottom white part. So I'm just putting it probably about 3/4 of the way down. And then I'm bringing some black soot distress ink and just mixing in some black ink around the edges. And then I'll come back in with the other colors, so the carved pumpkin and then the fossilized amber, just to blend that out with the black. I'm going to use this tree that I previously colored, and I die cut it out. I'm just fussy cutting this little white piece that did not cut out with the die. I didn't want that white piece on my background there. And I also die cut some black cardstock out of a Sunny Studios Slimline Nature Border die. I have two pieces here, so I'm going to put one in the back of the tree and then one in the front of the tree, kind of like that tree is being tucked in to the grassy area. I'm going to use one of the bats, the bat that's hanging upside down from the tree branch. I'm just going to attach that to the tree here in just a moment. But I go ahead and glue that grass down, and then I'm just going to flip that over and just trim off the excess black cardstock. And then I'll go ahead and just kind of see where I want to put my tree and where I want to put my bat, just to see how far up I want to put that second piece of grass. So before I glue anything down, I am going to take a stamp from the Batty for You stamp set that says Happy Halloween, just positioning everything where I want it, just to make sure I'm going to have enough room for that stamp. And with that clear stamp just placed there on my background, I'm going to go ahead and glue this tree down. So I'm going to remove the bats, glue that tree down. I want to make sure that the top branches of that tree are flush with the top edge of that cardstock. And if for some reason they go slightly over, it's perfectly fine, because you can just come back in and just flip it over and then just trim off the excess tree that hangs above the cardstock. So I'm going to press that down really well, and I'm just coloring in with a dark gray marker some of this white around the tree. I don't want any white showing against that black cardstock, so I'm just coloring that in. And then I'm going to position that second layer of grass where I want it, and then I'll go ahead and glue that down. And then I'll snip off the excess. So next I'm going to go ahead and put that card layer into my MISTI, and I'm going to go ahead and position that stamp Happy Halloween where I want it to go. I'll close the door on my MISTI, and then I'll ink up that stamp with some black ink, and then I'll press that down. I will just do that a few times to make sure I have a very black impression. And then I'll go ahead and glue down this bat that's hanging from the tree. I just think this is so adorable how you can just attach that right to the tree. Now, if you don't have that tree stamp, you can always just attach that to the edge of the card layer, and it would look like there's a tree maybe extending onto off of the card layer, and that would be really cute as well. So I'm just taking a gel pen and I'm just putting some dots around the eyes. This is just a white gel pen. It's just going to add a little bit of sparkle there and just some more definition to the eyes as well as to the ears. And then I'll add some white dots to the pumpkin as well, and I'll just do that vertically on those lines that are on that pumpkin. So here's a close-up. You can see it a little bit better. It just adds a little bit more of something to those images. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that to an A2 size card base. That measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's the same exact size as that card layer. So there will be no edges of that white card base showing. I am going to bring in a ghost and add it to the bottom right hand corner. So I'm going to take one of those action wobbles and I just peel off the top and it exposes a sticky portion. And it's just going to go on the back of that ghost. But because the wobble piece is a little bit too wide, I have to trim it down so that you cannot see it behind the ghost. So I just keep positioning that ghost over top of that wobble just to make sure that I have cut off enough, and then I decide to go ahead and attach the ghost to it and then just come in with my little scissors and just trim off the parts of that wobble piece that are extending beyond my stamped image. So once I have that cut down, I'm just going to peel back the backing off of the back side, which is also going to expose a sticky piece. And then I'm going to just attach that to my card. And I'm going to put that there at the bottom right hand corner and just stick it down. And once I have it down, you can see that it turns that ghost into an interactive element on the card. I think that's so cute. And it also adds dimension. So that completes my first card. Moving on to my second card, I am going to be using these zigzag circle dies. These are brand new to Pink & Main, and I do cut 3 of them. 2 are the same size and 1 is a little bit of a smaller size. I did cut them with some Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm just inking them up with my Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink. I love this color when it comes to Halloween. I love this green. I think it looks so good for backgrounds for your Halloween scene. So I'm just putting a layer of ink all over the top of it. I'm going to do it to all 3. And I'm also going to add some black Soot Distress ink just around the edges just to have a little bit of the black background there. Once I add the black, I'll just come back in with the Twisted Citron and I'll just blend those 2 together. So here's all 3 of those, and then I spritzed it with water and I'm just putting a paper towel on the top, and then I'm going to lift that up, and it does take some of the ink away, which is the look that I was going for. And here I'm just taking some black acrylic paint, putting it there on my mat, spritzing some water to dilute it a bit. I didn't have it quite diluted enough, and that's why I have that big black splotch on that middle one, but that's okay because I'll cover it up when I put this on my card. But I just flick it with a paintbrush to get some of those black spots on those circles. And now I'm just going to position them onto this card layer. I do want to make sure that they are hanging off the edges. I did not want them completely on the piece of cardstock because I think the look of it by going over the edges looks so much better. And I go ahead and glue those down. Now that piece of black cardstock is 4¼ by 5½. It's the same size as an A2 card base. Although it is just one piece of cardstock, I will eventually glue this down onto an A2 size card base. So here I'm just snipping off the edges of those circles. Here is where I cover up that ink splotch by just putting a star on top of it. Then I will add the bat to that circle. Next, I'm going to add that card layer to my Misty. You can see there in the bottom, I put the word Batty, and I did die cut that out. There is a die that corresponds with the word Batty. And then there's all these other sentiments that you can choose to go with the word Batty. And I chose for candy. So it's going to say Batty for candy. You could have said Batty for Halloween, Batty for you. But I chose that one because in this set there are all these little candy pieces. So here's a lollipop that I'm tucking into the Y. There's also little candy pieces with the wrappers, which you'll see that I'm going to include those as well. So I go ahead and add the bat there and some of the stars around it. There's a candy piece that I went ahead and put like a bow in the bat's hair. So I just colored it up green and put it there like it's a bow in its hair, but it's really a candy piece. I thought that was super cute. And then just adding a few more stars. I am going to take another candy piece, which will be another lollipop, which you'll see here in a minute, and I'm going to put it in the other bat's hand, like it's eating the lollipop right there. I think that's super cute. And I also put another candy piece below the word Batty on the left of the B. So I'm just going to glue that onto a white A2 size card base, and that's going to complete that card. Moving on, I am going to be creating a mini slimline card. So I have a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock that's cut to 5 3/4 by 3 1/4. And I'm also using a stencil by Fawn. This is their Slimline Cloudy stencil. And I'm using some distress ink. So I have the Wilted Violet, which is the purple, and I have the black Soot, which is the black ink, and I'm just inking up with purple first, so that's the Wilted Violet going across. And then after I ink up with the purple, I'm going to come in with the black Soot and just put a little edge of black at the bottom of the layer. Then I'm going to move the stencil down and I will come back in with the Wilted Violet, ink that up in the Wilted Violet, and then come back in at the very bottom of that line and just put some black Soot. And then I'll move the stencil down. I'll also move it over to the left or to the right, just to make sure I don't have the same exact cloud formation going all the way down that piece of cardstock. And then I'll just continue that process all the way down that piece of cardstock. And once I finish, I will go ahead and just add some of the black Soot just around the edges. I'm not coming too far into the center. I just wanted to just put a little bit around the edges, and then I'll come in with my Wilted Violet and fill in the white areas on the bottom. And here's a look at the completed card layer. So I am going to be using the tree again, only this time I'm just using the die. And I took the die and I cut out 2 black trees just out of black cardstock. And for one of the trees, I'm going to put it the right way up. And the other one, I'm going to flip it over and use the back side because I want to make sure that I have the same tree design facing towards the middle of that card layer. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. Again, making sure that the top of the branches is meeting the top of that cardstock layer. So some of the branches will extend beyond the cardstock layer, which is perfectly fine. I'll just snip off the bottoms there. And I am going to be using the 3 ghosts with the word boo. And I'm also going to take the nature border die that I used in the previous card. I die cut 1 piece of black cardstock, and when you die cut 1 piece of black cardstock, you actually can use both sides of that die, that's why I really love this particular die, because one side's not wasted. You can actually use both sides. But for this particular card, I'm just using the 1 grassy border. I'm not using 2, so I'll be able to save that other piece for another card. I'm going to go ahead and add that to my scene. And then I'll just snip off the excess grass. And I'm going to put some double-sided adhesive foam on the back of these ghosts just to pop them up. And then I'll add the ghost to the center of the card. And I'm just flipping that card layer over and just snipping off any of the extra tree that might have been extended beyond that card layer. Next, I'm going to attach that layer to a piece of black cardstock that measures 5 7/8 by 3 3/8. So you can see the little bit of black extending beyond that purple edge. And then that layer is going to go on a mini slimline card base that measures 6 by 3.5. And that completes this mini slimline card. Moving on to my last project, this is not a card. Instead, this is going to be a little treat container. And I'm using a die from the Stamps of Life. It is their pillow box die. So I just die cut it with a piece of Halloween themed cardstock, and I just folded it at the score lines, and then you saw that I put glue there on that little flap and then just pressed it down. So easy to put together. And you can use these pillow box dies for any occasion or any holiday. So I'm going to go ahead and fold here at the score lines on the edges to close it up. And then I'm going to decorate this with my last two ghosts using my zigzag circles from Pink and Maine. So I die cut one in a green pattern paper and one in a white pattern paper. And here I'm going to go ahead and just take this ribbon. This is an orange ribbon. I'm just going to put some double-sided tape on the end of that, the inside end of that ribbon, and then just peel back that backing and then just tape it down. Now, before you do this step, make sure that you fill your box with whatever you want to fill it with. So if you wanted to have it filled with some candy or any kind of treats for the Halloween trick-or-treaters, or maybe your kids or grandkids, go ahead and fill it with whatever you want. And then here I'm just wrapping some ribbon around it, just putting some double-sided tape to attach it to the box. I'm going to go ahead and attach these zigzag circle dies. I'm just putting a glue dot on that ribbon, and then I'm going to attach it. Now, I'm just making mine fairly loose, but when you're making these, obviously if you wanted to make it a little bit more secure, you can even glue it completely flat down to that box. Now, I have found when using circle dies like this and trying to glue to that box, sometimes the circles don't stay glued all the way, so that's why I found just putting a little glue dot on there and just having the circles raised and not fully attached works really well. So here I'm using another one of those action wobbles, just like I did with the first card. I'm just trimming it down to make sure that it's not showing through this ghost. So just trim it down a little bit. It does have double-sided adhesive tape that you just expose, and then just adhere your little stamped image to the front, and then peel back the backing on the back, and then you can adhere it to your project. So that little ghost is going to be adhered to the center circle of my treat box. And I love how it's going to be interactive, so whoever you give it to, they'll be able to wobble that little ghost back and forth. I'm also going to add a sentiment to this. I just stamped that out and just trimmed it down, and then I'll just glue it down to the circle. So I just love these little treat boxes, and of course everybody needs treats for Halloween, so you can fill these with your favorite treats. So there's the other little ghost. I added a little wobble there underneath him too, and put the sentiment as ghostly greetings. So here are my pillow boxes as well as the cards that I made. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and all links to all of these supplies will be down in the description box below. And as always, if you want to see more card tutorials from me, go ahead and click that subscribe button and turn on your bell notification so that you'll be notified every time I release a new video. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Bye-bye.